Hi guys, trying to adjust as usual. Over there. How we doing? Look at that. I said I'd be live before 10, and well, it's 9:15. How you guys doing? Good to see you. Um, I would told you I was going to tell you about the story about Joseph, and let me tell you, it. I learned so much about Joseph. I'm blown away. I am just mind boggled. What I did is I went in my computer, my little black box. I had my trusty Bible. I'm watching, reading about Joseph. Joseph, by the way, the story starts at Genesis 37. Good story, guys. Here's something, because I think I've told you guys before. I just, or maybe it was my family, but when they get to those generation after generation after generation, it just confused me. I thought it's irrelevant. But you know what? It is irrelevant. It is very critical to understand this. I didn't know that Jacob, another story I'd like to talk about, Jacob, his wife's Leah and Rachel. I love that story, and I did a big study on that. And all of a sudden I go, oh my goodness, here I am. I didn't realize Jacob is Joseph's dad. And it just shows you that Pop Gary's mind doesn't click all the time, but it amazed me. He is Joseph's dad. So, the story of Joseph, he is at that time the youngest son of the family. He has 10 brothers, and they're kind of jealous of him because Joseph was, unfortunately, Jacob's youngest son. Now, here's the thing I didn't know. Here I read these stories, I study these stories, and like I told you, just all of a sudden something clicks, my bubble pops. He wanted to marry Rachel, and this is in the story of Jacob. He wanted to marry Rachel, but her dad was a shifty, boxy guy. At any rate, he ended up being set up to marry Leah first, and then 7 years he had to work again. I'm going to tell you the story about that. And he marries Rachel, the one that he fell in love with to start. Okay, he had love with both of them. Don't get me wrong, but apparently Rachel had a real hard time having children. Well, I finally got to have his first child with Rachel after 10 sons, but he loved Joseph, made him a special robe and everything. But Joseph was a dreamer. I'm a dreamer, but he got dreams from God Almighty. He was a special human being, and God loved him. So he had a dream that he saw his brothers and his daddy bowing down to him. His brothers, man, bowing down. And they got mad. You're the youngest. We don't bow down to you. Again, I'm giving you a Pop Gary style of the story. And he just said, I had that dream. And they were upset. Well, long story short, we're going to go into what happened. So his brothers were out tending the sheep. That's what they were, sheep farmers. And his dad, Jacob, said, I want you to go and talk to your brothers and help them. So Joseph loved that kid so much he was a nervous wreck about it. But he sent his youngest son out there to be with his brothers. Well, here, Joseph, he was a loving guy. He's a loving brother. He's just an innocent kid. And he thinks that, what's going on? His brothers were jealous. In the Pop Gary short way of telling the story, well, guess what? They get together. Now, there's only one brother Judah that kind of was a little doubt, but they wanted to kill him. But then one brother talked to him about, well, why don't we throw him in the pit? So they did. They threw him in the pit. Joseph, you got to figure he didn't understand. Why the heck did they throw me in a pit? And he pleaded with him, let me out, let me out, let me out. And it was bothering Judah more than anybody else. It was bothering him. And so finally, they see a caravan coming. Sorry, my ears popped. And he talks to his brothers, why don't we sell him? And that way we didn't kill him, and we could say some wolves ate him. So they sell him for 20 shekels of silver. And they sell Joseph. Joseph's gone. Brothers go back, tell Jacob, the daddy, he took his, it was apparently a beautiful, beautiful robe. They ripped it, they stuck it in sheep's blood, and they said, we found him, he got killed by wolves. They never told her dad, Jacob, that they actually saw him. They just happened to find him. Isn't that funny how stories go? They just happened to trip over Joseph and find him his clothes. So Joseph takes off and he goes to Egypt. Well, of course, these wise travelers on camels that were roamers sell him. And they sell him to, and let me look at, I got to find them all. I'm sorry. As usual, I'm not paying attention. But at any rate, they sell him and to a man. I'll let you read the story. They sell him to a guy because he's got good teeth. He looks strong. He's handsome. So they sell him. Well, he ends up, the guy starts to really think he's great. Well, he starts putting him first as a slave, and next thing you know, he's becoming more of a guy that runs the household because he likes him that much. Because Joseph was touched, special treatment from God. So Joseph is doing well. I mean, here he was thrown into slavery. He misses his dad, but he's doing pretty good. Well, his wife, the bought him, wife, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, but I'm just drawing a blank. I don't want to spend a lot of time looking for his name. His wife kind of has the hots for Joseph. I mean, she thinks he's handsome. Boy, she's excited. So, excuse me, Billy's over there with Catherine. So here she goes. She tries to make a play for him. Joseph, he breaks out. He don't want to mess with that. That's somebody else's wife, but he don't want to mess with her. So he runs away, and when he runs away, she rips off his robe. Okay. Well, and she comes up with a brain cramp. I'm going to say that he tried to rape me. So she tells her, man, the husband really loved her. He liked him a lot, but he says, I can't deal with that. And he throws him in prison. Now, 1 minute Joseph's being sold by his brother. The next minute he gets a good job. Things are going well. And the next thing you know, he's back in prison again. Well, there he is. He's in prison. It's not good. He's frustrated. He prays and he talks to God all the time. Because remember, he's a chosen one of God. And Joseph was a dreamer, don't forget. I'll keep reminding you that. He's a dreamer. Well, in two people, a chef and basically another person that ran the slaves that dealt with Pharaoh, well, they got thrown in prison. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is Pop Gary says they did some bad things. Okay, so they got thrown in prison. Well, they get to befriend Joseph. And they then have these dreams and they don't know what to do. So they find out Joseph can decipher dreams. So both men, the cook and the guy that was the head of the slaves tell him the dreams. So Joseph deciphers. It doesn't go well, but he was telling them, if I decipher your dreams, will you put in a good word for me? So, oh, yeah, trust me, you know. Heck yeah, you know we will. Well, he deciphers the first one, and he tells them, again, because I went through so much, I was spending 4 hours studying Joseph. He tells the cook that these few things are going to happen, but you're going to be in favor of the Pharaoh, and you're going to be back to work with him. Boy, he's excited. All right, hallelujah. He's excited. Well, the other one, what about my dream? He deciphers his and says, technically, I saw crows. I saw a lot of terrible things. You're going to die in 3 days. This guy, what do you mean I'm going to die in 3 days? Bottom line is, guess what happens? Both of them get out. The one who is supposed to be in favor again, he's a good old guy and he gets to stay. Does he remember to take and try to help Joseph? No, he doesn't. Well, the other guy, guess what happens to him? Gallows. He's done. He's dead. Just like Joseph said it would happen. So here we are. We now got two guys. They forget about Jesus. Well, guess what? All of a sudden, Pharaoh has a dream. And the Pharaoh has a dream, and he's wanting to know his wise men and everything else. He wants that dream deciphered. Well, remember the cook. He comes up with this. Well, I know a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy, and he's deciphering dreams. Now, the guy should have got Joseph out a long time ago, but he gets him out. And he goes to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh looks him right in the eyes. Joseph looks him right back in the eyes, and he says, tell me your dream. So he does. Well, guess what? Joseph deciphers the dreams. Okay. Basically, he saw healthy cows, and then he saw really sick cows. Okay. He tells them there'll be, I believe it's 7 years of harvest, plenty, everything's going to go really well with you, Pharaoh, and all your whole land. And there's going to be 7 years of famine. So Pharaoh's freaking out, but he could see in Joseph's eyes, he could see this guy was something special. The bottom line is, because I could go into the stories are long, but I could go into the story to say, well, Pharaoh puts Joseph in charge. Now, at first, he's put in charge of quite a bit, but then he becomes the second in command of all of Egypt. I mean, now all of a sudden you got the Pharaoh and everybody else. Joseph's on top of that. He's second in command. Now that's going from nowhere to somewhere pretty doggone fast. And he becomes second to Pharaoh. He gets the seal, the ring. He gets it all. He gets dressed, nice dresses, nice food. I mean, Joseph's living good, but he still believes in God. And Pharaoh tells him, 7 years of famine, we need to help. Well, God, of course, shows Joseph what to do. So in the 7 years that he has the famine, the plenty, he takes and puts it in storage grains and everything. I mean, this guy, through God, had wisdom to know what to do. So in the 7 years of famine came, not good. But he, who was being a very wise and godly servant to God, cared about people. I mean, he did care about them. So, guess what? They're starving. here's Jacob, the Jewish people, and he says, our people are starving. I've heard that Egypt has horns of plenty. I want you to take silver and go buy what you can buy. I'm making the story short again. He does. He goes. The brothers do. Not the youngest. Now there's a young one that Joseph has taken into his cuddle because he's the second son of Rachel, and he's not taking him. He's going to stay here. So they go and they do what I say. They talk, and Joseph recognizes him and works out a deal with him. I'm going to give you the food because they told him the father was still alive. That made Joseph pretty excited. So they give him a lot of grain and the whole works, and they load it up. But he tells his Egyptians, I want you to take and put their silver. He was going to give the silver back to them. I want you to put the silver into the bags of grain. So long story short, here they go. They go back to their dad, Jacob, and they tell him. And Jacob going, oh my goodness. When they open up the bags, whoa, there's all the silver. And of course, Jacob, why didn't they take the silver? Did you steal it back? No, we didn't, Dad. We didn't. Okay, bottom line is, okay, well, Joseph's strolled along here. Things are good. They're running out of food. This tribulation period is starting to go longer and longer. Well, now they're running out of food again. So he tells his sons, you got to go back. Let's load you up with riches. Go buy us enough food. And they go. But the little son, he's not getting to go. He has to stay with Papa. Papa's cuddling him. They go. And Joseph sees him again, knows who they are, but they don't know him. See, he's dressed like an Egyptian. They don't know him. They think that Joseph is dead, or they sold him as a slave. So he gives them the grain and the food. He asks again, is your father's still alive? Yeah, and his son. They left one son back there. Aha, Joseph said. Is that whose is that son? And of course Joseph, he doesn't know, but they tell him it's one of their mother Rachel's second son. Now I'm ad-libbing the story. Interesting. So he loads him up grain and everything else, and he takes and he says, go back. Well, guess what? Old Joseph's a wise man. He puts the silver back in, and he puts his silver chalice, his personal, very important cup, big deal, big wig, big important cup, back in the bag of grain. And they go back, and here they are. They're all excited. The grain's there and everything else. And guess what? They found the silver chalice. Well, Joseph's not a very happy camper because, Jacob, but they send the Egyptian army out to get him. So they got him and brought him back to Egypt before they ever got to Daddy. Okay? Well, he basically says all this stuff, and he goes, listen, I'm going to keep one of your brothers here. Okay? I'm sorry, I don't remember the names. My mind just goes, read the story. I'm keeping one of your brothers here, and you're to go to your father. Okay. I want that young boy, his youngest, which is basically Joseph's little brother. I want him back here. Well, of course, they go back. They're freaking out. They know Dad's going to be not a happy camper, and they get back. And they tell him that he wants son, or they won't be able to get back their other brother. And of course, Jacob, he said, what? I'm not going to give you my youngest son. I've already lost Joseph. I'm not giving him up. Well, bottom line is, finally, and I'm again read the story. He finally says, "Okay," because Judah comes up and says, "I promise you, Dad, I will bring him back. I promise I'll bring the youngest son back." So finally they go, okay, so they go back to Egypt. Here they are. They're back to Egypt. Joseph says he wants to see the younger one, and he sees him. Doesn't say much. Long story short, because I can go hard at 20 minutes, because you got to read the story yourself. He sets him up again, and he tells him, basically, I want you to bring your, I'm going to send you guys back. I'm keeping the youngest son. They're freaking out. They're freaking out. So bottom line is they go back again and they bring Jacob. I mean, they come back. I'm getting my brain. But they go back, and God, what Joseph does is, the long story, let's get to the end. He takes, and finally, Joseph is such a loving man. He's a very emotional man. And he's got the cat out of the bag. He's got to let them know. So he tells them that he's his brother Joseph. Of course, you can imagine what these brothers, you gotta be kidding me. So they go get Daddy, because Joseph says, I want you to get Dad. Is he still alive? Yes. I want you to get him, bring him back here, and I will talk to the Pharaoh, and I want you to bring back the whole tribe of Jacob, which is the whole tribe of Israel, and bring them back. And Pharaoh, because he loved he loved Joseph, he puts the Israelites in an unbelievable, very fertile land. Okay. And then they live happily ever after. But later on, the story goes on. I will tell you that story too, about how the Egyptians finally get fed up with it. Okay. And guess what? They get captured by the Egyptians and they're slaves for 400 years. Now, we know who comes in again, Moses. But that's all. It all ties together. Every story that God's put in that Bible is another story that talks about how God works. He's an amazing God. And so, again, I'm going to let you go. And I'm sorry I drug the story on, but there's so much to learn. I did watch a movie that's an hour and 37 minutes on Joseph. It's well done. It's done by AI, but it's well done. I mean, it's an amazing story. And an hour and 37 minutes, I watched the whole darn movie. But if you don't do anything else, you don't want to read, I'd like to see you read Genesis 37 about the story. But also go in and ask YouTube to give you a story on it. Again, I love the stories of the Bible. So I'm going to let you go for now. I'm sorry I took so long. I didn't mean to blabble on just the story of Joseph. Plus, I don't think I did a real good job of telling you, because it's pretty intense. I was on it for almost 6 hours. But I love you guys. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to get back on somewhere around 2 o'clock, hopefully, if the sun don't fall. Remember this. This is the day the Lord hath made, and we will rejoice and be glad in him. I love you guys, and I'll see you a little later. Bye-bye. Wait.